Surbi Daya from IMC. So I request her to make her presentation. Thank you.
Can you please put the PPT on? Very good afternoon to all of you. And I'm Professor Surbi Daya, and I head the Journalism Department of Indian Institute of Mass Communication. As per our discussion, I'll be speaking on the Indian media ecosystem. And I have a small, though it's a large one, but we can just speak for around 15 minutes and discuss what is happening in the Indian media. So if you talk about India, I am proud to be an Indian, first of all. And India, is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of the human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most intrusive materials in the history of mankind are treasured in India only. So, I think there's some power cut there. I think this is not working.
You can tell the control people to help you.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So what we can discuss today is that when we see the Indian media industry as a whole, first of all, that comes to your mind is how big is the Indian media industry? What is the size of the Indian media industry? So, Indian media is one of the biggest industries in India. And my dear friends, when, there was a recession in the times of 2007, 2008, Indian media was still booming. As per the FICCI report, FICCI, KPMG and FICCI EY, they always come out with a report every year. And, according to their figures, the Indian media industry was still booming at that time as well. So let us have a look at the size of the Indian media industry, the segmental performances, the advertising, how much the advertising sector has grown, because it is the first time this year that the advertising has crossed 1 trillion, and it's a landmark achievement. So how, we say that we have become media agnostic. When we say that we have become media agnostic, it means that we are consuming news from all the segments, whether it is print or it is electronic or it is digital. And what are the changing types of consumers today? Who are the consumers? Actually, they have also been categorized now. What are the trends? What are the digital infrastructure and online consumption that we have? And what are the business models that we are moving forward to? For example, one of the models is a D2C model, because we used to have B2B model, we used to have B2C model, and now we are moving towards the D2C model, which is called as the direct-to-consumer model. And what is the 5G story? Today we see the screens, we see the laptop, we see the mobile screen. Tomorrow, what's the future? We are going to see the screens on the walls, with the vehicles, everything. And if you look at the media industry overall, what are the different ownership patterns that are there in our industry? How the ownership patterns are changing? How corporatization of media is happening? How politicization of media is happening? And what has happened to the institution called the editor in our media industry? And what are the management trends that we see in the media industry? I've tried to write a book on it, which is called as Indian Media Giants, published by Oxford, to see what are the management trends towards the Indian media industry, how are they growing, and what are the management practices that they are following for this type of growth. And I've also come out with a sequel of that book, which is called as Digital First, Entrepreneurial Journalism in India, in which I've tried to study the digital media houses in India and how are they evolving in this infrastructure. And then, of course, we can do any case study and, study the business models. Whatever time, the chair permits, I'll speak for that time. So, as you know, I was praising India, and why not? Because Natu Natu and Elephant Whisperers, they brought home Oscars, and there's an explosion of diverse and multicultural content. And M&E sectors, my dear friends, the foundation lies in three things. One is the content, one is commerce, and one is the community. So there's a rapidly expanding, they're rapidly expanding in the face of shifting dynamics and technological innovations propelled by the digital revolutions that connects everything, everyone, and everywhere. So this is, my dear friends, this is data from the FICCI report. If you just see, the data, everybody will tell you that the digital is at number one, but digital is still at number two. It has cemented its strong position at number two, but still, as of now, the number one position goes to the television segment. And if you see the figures of the last year, in 2022, it was 709 billion. So television stood at 709 billion, followed by digital media at 571 billion, followed by print, followed by films, online gaming, animation, VFX, live events, out-of-the-home media, OOH, music, and radio. So if you see the figures of 2022, you will see that it is around 2,098 billion. That is, my dear friends, the size of the Indian media industry. That is 2.1 trillion. So it has shown a growth of 20%. If you remember the COVID times, and the lockdown was somewhere around 25th of March, and within 3 months, in July, the print media had faced a loss of around 4,500 crores. That is the time when Bhaskar did file a suit and said that you cannot be circulating our newspapers for free. And that is why we are, because we all stopped subscribing to the newspapers, and the people started, downloading it and forwarding it for free. So that's the time the case was filed, and they won the case, and then it was banned that you cannot circulate those free newspapers during that time, because they had suffered a loss of 4,500 crores. And the next year, the very next year, if you see the previous report, you will find that the print had shown a degrowth of around 3%. But this year, if you see the figures of 2022, it has picked up again, and it is showing us a growth of 10%. So 10% print growth is a number, and you cannot say that print media is dead in India. So I'm always telling that print media will still survive for another at least 10 years in India, along with its digital siblings. Because when you see the revenues of the big media houses, they are earning big revenues from the print as well as digital. So see, for the first time in the history of media, the growth in the segment live events is the maximum. You see, it is 129%, which is an extremely, good growth, you can say. And digital advertising comes at number 5, but out-of-home media. This proves that, we all were stuck during the COVID times, and now everybody wants to go out and have, themselves amongst the live events and all. So 129% is a number, and if you see the print media, it's mentioned 10%. Television is the biggest segment, so the growth in the television segment is the lowest. It's around degrowth 1%, minus 1%, because of the saturation. As far as the advertising is concerned, it's for the first time that it has crossed 1 trillion. And if you see the total advertising for other segments, whether it is print or radio or cinema or OOH, it's around 550 billion. But then digital advertising has grown like anything, and the number goes to 499, which is, almost, in comparison with all other advertising in all other media. So this is a point to ponder on. Now, earlier we used to divide media into these segments, which I have just said, but now, today we divide media majorly into 4 segments. One is video, which includes TV, or video OTT, short videos. Then we have experiential media. We have online gaming, we have cinemas, we have events, we have OOH. Then it is textual media, where we have print and we have online news, because that's also made of text. And then we have audio, which includes radio and music and audio OTT. So if you divide the media industry now, these are the 4 segments that we can divide the media industry into. And mostly you see that everything that we have in media are categorized into these 4 segments. And here are the types of consumers. Earlier we used to say, okay, these are all consumers. But now we have categories of consumers. We have digital-only consumers who consume content only on the digital platforms and they rarely access the television. We have digital-first consumers who, consume pay TV and at least one paid OTT service. They are also called as tactical digital consumers. And then we have TV-first consumers, those who, consume TV, pay TV, and generally only, but the free OTT content, and they're called as bundled digital consumers. And then we have free consumers, they do not pay for any content either on TV or on OTT. And of course we have TV dark consumers, those who do not have even TV in their homes today because, we have all sort of people in India and there's a lot of digital divide that is there in India. So this is actually a multimedia, multi-window era where we have. I just told you that the digital consumers are there. So how many digital consumers we have? There are around 2 million. This is a data taken from the FICCI report. So 2 million we have consumers who are digital only top-end home users. 43 million around digital first homes with pay TV. 77 millions around pay TV homes and 45 millions about free TV. So this is the data. And similarly we have for news and information, which I can say. And yes, for the 5G, as I said, that in the future we can, ignite content consumption on watches, on glasses, on walls, on vehicles, on outdoor screens, anywhere. Now, this is the App Story. So App Story is that these are the famous OTT platforms, whether it is Netflix or it is Hotstar or it is MX Player. So these are all the famous apps used by Indians, and we have downloaded, apps in millions. Indians have downloaded apps in millions. Now, the other things that we need to ponder on, one is, ownership patterns in India, which I think, what needs to be talked about is corporatization of media and politicization of media. A lot of political parties and political leaders, they own media houses in India. And similarly, what is happening to the media industry is that corporate haunches, they are in the board of directors everywhere, whichever organization you see. Though ownership patterns, they are as old as our nation itself, because the first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, and the first Defense Minister Mr. Menon would castigate the jute press to BCCL, Bennett Coleman and Company Limited, when it was taken over by Ramkrishan Dalmia in 1946, and then it came into Indian hands and passed on to the Sahu Jain group. Since then, the Jains are ruling it. So we need to see how corporatization is happening and how politicization is happening. Recently, Adani took over NDTV, and how it actually happened. We need to ponder on that. They took a loan from a bank, and to repay that loan, they took a loan of 419 crores from a company called VCPL, and promised to return it within 10 years. But they couldn't do it, and that company was bought over by Adani, and then automatically the shares were transferred to him, and that's how corporates are taking over the media. But at present, if you see the economy, that is a little oligopolistic, which has a few dominant players. But if in case more and more corporates would take over, then it would lead to loss of heterogeneity of news and loss of plurality of news, and monopolization may happen, and consolidation may happen. And we need to see that we have many voices in media, because media is the fourth pillar of the society. We also need to see what has happened to our institution called editor, and how this position has been changed to the managing editor in most of the organizations. So I try to train my students both in media and how to manage media organizations, because they are the ones who will open up, start up with the new digital platforms that are there. At present, if you see, this book that I've written is about how these digital platforms are evolving in India, and who are the people who have opened up this media. So the star journalists, the celebrity journalists are the ones who have opened up these media houses. But what is actually happening to them, how much funding they are having, and from where are the funds coming? Because they say that we want to, we want to have a subscription-based model so that we have more subscribers. We will not depend more on the advertising, so that we can write what we want to write. So how this support system, that is coming to those digital media houses. So we, as professors and teachers of journalism, we should also teach our students media, reporting, as well as a little bit of management, so that if they become entrepreneurs in India, so, they will keep the flag of Indian media flying high. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Psri, for taking us through a very, very exciting journey, a very complex, and thank you especially for being able to make it very comprehensive and telling us so much in such a short time.